السلام عليكم ورحمة الله، يا أهلا وسهلا بأفخم متابعين بالعالم، متابعين برنامج دردشة بزنس. حلقة جديدة، حلقة مميزة. شفتوا معنا سلسلة من المقابلات المهمة جدا في عالم السيارات بشكل عام. اليوم عندنا مقابلة لبراند أنا شخصيا وزملائي في فريق عرب جي تي نعشق هذا البراند، محبين جدا لهذا البراند، براند بورشا. احنا اليوم موجودين في مطعم وكافيه دريفن باي بورشا مع المدير التنفيذي لبورشا الشرق الأوسط وشمال إفريقيا دكتور مارفيك. Thank you very much, Doctor, for having us today.
Thank you very much for visiting us here.
It's my great pleasure meeting you in person today. I think we've met a couple of times before. It wasn't formal. Today we're going to have a lovely discussion around the brand itself, Porsche, Middle East, Porsche globally. I believe you guys announced the sales record for 2023 recently, and remarkable year. It's been an amazing journey for Porsche in the past 3 years. Let me first start by congratulating you and the team of Porsche Middle East on the amazing records of 2023, and if possible to give us more insights around 2023 as a year and what's coming for 2024 for Porsche.
Well, yeah, so first of all, welcome here at Driven by Porsche. It's our Porsche Cafe here in Blue Waters in Dubai, which we are running now for nearly 3 years actually. And coming to your question, indeed 2023 was a very successful year for us. We were up by 11% over the year before, but already the year before we were up 20%. So a very strong increase in the region. But there's one thing for Porsche. The number of retail is not really the most important thing. It's much more important to have a long-term view, how the brand is doing, how our community is doing, how customers are doing, are they satisfied with the brand? And here I have to say we also are quite happy what happens in the region. Porsche Middle East and Africa, we are covering 15 countries, so it's the whole Middle East, is Africa and also India. For 2024, I think we were off to a good start, but it's far too early to tell. You know that the world currently has a lot of challenges. We have also some challenges with logistics in the Red Sea. So ships right now have to take the longer route across Africa, and this causes delays. So there are some challenges here, but we are still in good hope that everything will come to a good end.
Definitely most of our audience, most of our listeners would ask questions. 11% of increasing in sales in our region. What was the top selling model? If you can rank it for me, like the top 3 performing models from Porsche.
I tell you the top 2 models, and I think it's no surprise for the region here. The top first is the Porsche Cayenne, our larger SUV, and then already followed by the Macan, the smaller SUV. These were the top 2 sales models, and that's pretty much true for across the whole Porsche Middle East and Africa region.
It's these are the top 2 models.
Correct.
When it comes to markets, like can we talk about markets, like what's the best performing markets? Is it
I give you maybe the markets which are the biggest markets for us. We have large markets, we have small markets, we have some really small markets. For example, we are also responsible for the sales in Mauritius or La Réunion. But the bigger markets are clearly, it's the UAE, it is in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, in Africa, very much South Africa. And there's one market which grows really significantly over the last few years, and this is India. So India, which has a very, very steady growth, also economically. It had a very small premium segment in the past, but that also increases now significantly. So we also put a strong focus on India right now.
When, Dr. Maverick, when we talk about India, you've mentioned 15 markets is under your command. You as a regional office in Dubai, in the Silicon Oasis as more particular. So you guys are handling 15 different markets. If you're telling me Mauritius, all the way in Africa, all the way to South Africa, and then India, what's the challenges for Porsche's office to cater all these different markets?
Indeed, it's of course. I would not call it challenges. It's a great environment to work in, because you are dealing with different countries, different cultures, of course also with different tax systems and everything. I think the most important thing is that you are set up in the right way, that you have, for example, a strong regional management. We have 2 regional managers who are only catering to the Middle East, two only to Africa, and one is really the counterpart between our team in India and here in Dubai. So I think it very much depends that you are structured the right way. It is still, of course, not so easy at times because there's always something else coming up in one of the countries, but that's our normal business, and so far actually I have to say it's running very well.
What's the structure for Porsche? If there is a regional office in the region catering all these 15 markets on a global scale, what's the structure for Porsche on a global scale?
I mean, you have to imagine that there is Porsche headquarters, yes, which is based in Stuttgart, and we are directly actually the longer arm of this Porsche headquarter. And then there are our importers, and our importers, they're buying the cars from us, and we are actually making sure that the cars are coming on time. So we are really taking care of all the needs our importers have when it comes to marketing, when it comes to finance, when it comes to after sales, the entire training, the non-technical training, the technical training. Now we're talking about electric cars. We have to really have completely new trainings to do that. So these are all the things to cater for the needs of our importers, that they really can satisfy their customers to the best.
With this kind of structure, it's like all these importers are dealing directly with your team, and you represent Germany, you represent Stuttgart in the region. With the training, with parts, with ordering cars, with requesting new cars, with launching new models, it's under all of this is under Dubai's office command.
Correct.
Am I right? For all these 15 markets. This year, I was really happy, thrilled, and excited about one of the dreams that came true with an event that finally a car manufacturer being able to pull out an amazing relation between the customers and the brand itself with icons of Porsche. It's been running into a few years now, but in 2023, last year, end of last year, it was on a different scale, especially with the official reveal and official launch of the Porsche Panamera. It's very obvious for anyone who attended that event, or anyone even who is viewing it from outside, from several car manufacturer brands, the way they look at Porsche, how they invested in this Icons of Porsche event. It's another step in building the brand. I need to hear it from you. What does Icons of Porsche means to the Dubai's office, to you personally, to Porsche in Stuttgart, and how do you see this kind of community growing in the coming few years?
Yeah, that's great that you mentioned this because it's so close to my heart. I came to Dubai 5 years ago. I worked for Porsche in China before. I have a marketing background, so I was VP marketing in China. And in China you don't see a lot of classic Porsches, and I came here to Dubai and I looked around, and we couldn't really see that there is something which caters towards this Porsche community to the extent we would like to see it. So we were sitting down with the team and said, why don't we actually create a stage for Porsche lovers, for Porsche fans, for Porsche owners, and we bring it all together. And it's a bit surrounded, by the classic scene, because we wanted to show the history of Porsche. Porsche being founded in 1948. Last year we celebrated 75 years. So we said, why don't we just create a stage for all these Porsche lovers? And I have to tell you, we didn't know what to expect. And in the first year, we actually welcomed 7,500 people, which was amazing. Then the year after, 15,000, and just last year, 27,000 people. It was very important to us that these were not only Porsche customers, but these were also just fans of the brand, were kids, everybody was there. I think the response we got for the Icons of Porsche was really tremendous. It was so big that we could also celebrate last year the regional premiere of the Panamera. We had a lot of international journalists, and I have to tell you that also a lot of our headquarter colleagues came to visit and to present. So of course this event is here to stay. It means a lot to the region, and I also love to see other initiatives by a lot of regional groups here in the region, also in Dubai. I was just coming back from one yesterday, and I think overall this makes a lot of sense for the brand. There's one thing maybe I want to say is, like, we at Porsche, we say it's not what you buy, it's what you buy into. And with Porsche, I really can say that you buy into a community of car lovers. For them, the car is not just a vehicle to get from A to B, but it's much more.
Wow. I loved the way you're describing it. And I think with Porsche, not only with building the community, it's what I feel is the future is the community for most of the brands. There is a lot of challenges in the automotive industry in general. So many car manufacturers are trying to reach a point where they build this kind of channeling between them and their customers or clients or their fans of the brands, as you were saying. How do you view Porsche now? Like 3-4 years from now, there is an Icons of Porsche in the Middle East. Now we're sitting in Driven by Porsche as a cafe and a restaurant. How do you see this kind of relationship between a car brand and fans of the brand? How do you view it in the coming few years?
I think if you're in the luxury segment as Porsche is, this is one of the most important prerequisites that you can stay and you will be successful. If you're not close with your customers, if your customers don't have the passion for your brand, I mean, how can you be successful in the future? And that's what we always have to think about. And with Porsche, we are so lucky to have these amazing products, but that alone is not enough. We have to bring the products to the market, but then we have to also bring our customers and fans together in places like here at Driven by Porsche, like to the Icons of Porsche. And there's so many other events out there. I think it's for Porsche a no-brainer because we always do this across the world and not just here in the Middle East. There's so many fantastic Porsche events and there's no other brand actually in the world who has so many club members as Porsche has. And again, you have to always look back into history where Porsche came from. It was always a car, it was a brand that was born on the racetrack and we continued on that path, and I think to stay stable on that really paid off for Porsche.
Going into something, let me take you to a complete different journey. Few months back, I was lucky enough to have a drive in the all-new Porsche Macan with its all-new generation. Fully electrified engine for the first time, a new ride control, unbelievable. What does Porsche Macan means to Porsche Middle East? You've mentioned that it's ranked number 2 after the Cayenne in terms of sales. And I wanted to hear more from you around electrifications, EVs. This few weeks back, we've been hearing all the news about slowing down in the sales of EVs in general on a global scale. How does the Taycan perform? And how do you expect the Macan to perform?
Well, let me start maybe with, if you would have asked me 15 years ago whether the Porsche brand would be one of the first brands, luxury brands out there to offer an electric vehicle, I would have probably told you maybe not one of the first ones. And here we are, already 3 years Porsche Taycan launched. The Taycan was the first BEV vehicle in the Porsche lineup, and it's doing phenomenally well. And not only in countries where you would assume it, like maybe like more in Europe, but also here in the Middle East. The share of the Taycan last year in our region was 9%. And this is in the region where we have barely any subsidies for these cars, like we had in Europe, for example, and also where oil prices are cheap. So this tells you already that there's a lot of customers who are ready for going electric. I think with the Macan, of course, this is a completely next bigger step because Macan, as I just told you, is currently the second best selling vehicle in the Porsche lineup. So we're bringing the Macan as an electric vehicle. I also drove it actually already a little bit longer ago. I was fascinated by the car, but there will be still customers who at the time prefer staying with the combustion engines, others will go already electric. So it's a good strategy from Porsche that we will offer both cars parallel for quite some time. So customer can really make the decision. The decision, of course, also depends very much on the charging grid. I mean, how easy is it to charge at your home, at your high-rise building, on the highways? So I think that this, as we call it, tipping point, when for the first time we'll sell more BEVs than combustion engines, this tipping point will differ from country to country. Maybe in Europe it's coming earlier, maybe in the Middle East come a bit later. Ultimately, the future is electric, but it will take different times when this tipping point will happen. So, I mean, in a nutshell, again, I think we are very happy with the performance. I'm very convinced about the Macan BEV because, I mean, we both drove it. I think it's a real winner. And then we will see how we go along.
When do we expect it to reach the region, the Macan?
It will come late this year. That
Late
is
this year.
the also depending a little bit on the country. I can only say that the demand already, the hype around it, people who want to place an order is pretty high. So we're very happy already with the first reactions after the first pictures had been released.
With distributors here, they have the options to order whether fully EVs or a combustion engine.
Correct.
They have two variant, and they can
correct.
They can go.
Yeah. So we have the current Macan, which stays where it is for quite some time, and then there's a new one coming on top of it.
With the Panamera, I know the Panamera is all new generation coming along this year to several distributors. This segment, this sedan segment in premium cars, it's been like facing a lot of challenges coming out from SUVs, coming out from sportier cars. What do you think of Panamera as a segment currently, and how do you view this sedan premium segment in the coming in this year or the year after?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the right observation that the SUVs increased in share over the past years, and the Panamera is still selling well, but not to the same extent as a Macan or as a Cayenne.
Some of the
and that's the other thing, right? I mean, if you look at it right now with the Taycan, if you have somebody looking into a sedan and wants to have a sedan and it should be a Porsche, he can now choose between a brand new Panamera and actually the Taycan, which gives him both options here. I still think that the Panamera will do very well because the improvements to the Panamera are significant. If I only can mention one thing, this active ride suspension, which comes with all the Panamera hybrids, is just such a significant improvement over the previous models and over the competition. I was really amazed by driving the car for the first time. But as I said, I mean, currently the region is still heavy on SUVs, but already we can see on the new Panamera also there is a good demand right now building up.
Dr. Manfred, if I had something that I have to ask you this question, and I need a full honest answer from you, please. I have to ask you this question and I need a full honest answer from you. What's your favorite Porsche car? From classic to the current ones. Because I know that there is several Porsche fans who's watching and they're keen to know what's your favorite.
This question, you get of course an honest answer, but the honest answer is every day something else comes to your mind. What is another great car to have? And I have to admit also that I like also a lot the classic Porsches. I mean, we have an amazing new product lineup, but I also look back also with the classics. So I can tell you that I like a lot the Carrera GT models, but there's so many other good cars which comes to my mind. And it's also, of course, for the purpose what you want to do with the car. Whether you want to go on a gravel road but fast, and maybe then the 911 Dakar is an amazing car to drive. A very, very difficult question you're asking me here right now, and I think.
But you've mentioned Carrera GT as a first car. So
yeah, this is
usually the first model that comes to your mind. It's like your preferable one.
Came out in 2003, and I thought that was for me something so different. It's a very, very special car. But as I said, I mean, all the cars fulfill a certain purpose. But I think the most important thing here to answer your question that they share the same DNA. A Macan has the same DNA than a 911. You sit in a Macan, drive this car, immediately you're sitting in a Porsche. And that's also true for all our electric models. If you drove the new Macan electric, you know that you were sitting in a Porsche. I was always asked a few years ago when the Taycan came out, how does it feel to drive this electric Porsche, this electric Taycan? And the answer was always the same, it feels like driving a Porsche. And that must be the most important thing for all the models we're having.
Thank you very much for your time for the day. Lovely talking to you. And we look forward to meet you again, maybe in the Icons of Porsche. There will be an Icons of Porsche in 2024.
Absolutely.
Or maybe in Liwa, if there is a 911 Dakar. Some secrets. We're definitely looking forward for our next meeting. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Manfred. أعزائنا المشاهدين، أعزائنا المتابعين في برنامج دردشة بزنس. أتمنى تكون الحوار اليوم مع دكتور مانفرد وشركة بورشا بالشرق الأوسط وشمال إفريقيا أعطيناكم شوي نبذة عن الأمور اللي بيشتغلوا عليها، نبذة عن التحديات القادمة، نبذة عن ليش بيستثمروا بالفعاليات والإيفنتات اللي صارت مثل ايكونز اوف بورشا وغيرها من الفعاليات. لا تنسوا تشتركوا بقناة عرب جي تي، إن شاء الله مستمرين معاكم أسبوعيا في مقابلة مع صناع قرار، أشخاص جدا مهمين في عالم السيارات وفي عالم صناعة السيارات بشكل عام. شكرا لكم، شكرا لمشاهدتكم، السلام عليكم.